bucks a book. And
Yeah.
that's why crowdfunding is persisting,
Yep.
because it's about the quality, and the market should decide if you're rubbish and you put out. But and there's plenty of books out there that go out to crowdfunding and they don't make it. And
Hmm.
there's two reasons why they don't make it. One is the book's rubbish, and the second one is that the people are not connecting with an audience. You
Yeah,
know, don't
the audience isn't finding it. I think
yeah
that's the huge problem right now.
that
There's
that
so
as
many
well
quality books out there.
as well as there are creators that like and it's easy to get stuck in this because you move in circles, you move in creative circles.
Yeah.
And to really sell a book, you have to step out of those creative circles. You can't just sell to your peers
No.
or people who want to be in comics. You
Yep.
need to sell to people who want to read your stories, and they're not the people that want to be in comics. They might cross over, that Venn diagram, but you
Hmm.
need to find audiences. So yeah, that's the
It's
tricky
a
thing.
it's a
You
dilemma
also
I've been thinking about for the last couple of years. How do you go
Mm,
out and get comics out to the masses?
mm.
you should
That's
also not try to sell to your competitors as well, because you also have to remember the people that are your peers are also your competitors.
I don't think you need to be selling to anybody. You need to be doing this stuff for yourself and trying to get as many eyes on it as possible.
Mm. Yeah, I think there's two ways of looking at it. Well, one, you do what you want to do,
Hmm.
but at the same time, you have to have an eye on the marketability of it. So you
Yeah.
you might say, "Oh, I'm going to draw this story, or I'm going to create this story," but if nobody likes it, there's no point in creating that story because you're literally just doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
need to have a balance of I'm doing this because this is what I want to do. I find this interesting. I think this is a great thing to do,
Hmm.
but also with an eye on, and I think there will be other people out there that will enjoy it and want to continue with it.
Yeah.
And if you get that balance right, um, then you can wander around with just somewhere between 500 and 1,500 fans, people, if you want to call them fans, people that want to consume your work, and you'll make a living, and they'll be happy consuming your work. It doesn't have to be thousands and thousands and thousands of people,
Yeah. I
but it's
I
still
think
an audience. It's still a
yeah.
dedicated audience, and
I
you've got to
think we
find
need
that
an audience
audience.
that I think we need an audience that large though, and a large readership to get this art form back to where it
Oh,
was.
yeah, I'm just talking about individuals making their way through the
Yeah.
the process. But yeah, we need to get them as an art form. It needs to be touching as many people as possible.
HR's in the house this morning. Hello. Hello, HR. Hope you're doing well.
Fine.
Every time, HR puff and stuff is in my head every time.
Over here, it stands for human resources
Yeah,
anymore. So, there we are. Haunt of Fear, folks. Haunt of Fear. One of the
fantastic.
greatest horror comics of all time from the great EC Comics. We're going to take a look at the first 6 issues today. Let's see how far we can get into it. It's the Old Witch, it's the Vault Keeper, and the Crypt Keeper all coming alive here. So
Whoa.
Spooky.
great, great spooky O. Henry style tales. And we'll get right into it as soon as we run our opening here. Let's do this one. I gotta make another opening, I think. Here we go.
What was that? This is not a charade. We need total concentration. Now, once again, this time, with theory.
Haunt of Fear, folks. The great EC Comics. This is the Russ Cockrum set, beautifully hardbound, slightly sun scorched there on the spine. Comes in a beautiful box set. This is volume 1 of, I believe, 5 total volumes. So you're going to see a lot of early work from a lot of fantastic people, just as they're getting their feet wet and figuring out what they were doing. Notes and comments. Russ Cockrum, publisher, West Plains done in 1985. Beautiful color, covers, recolored by Marie Severin.
Quality.
She went through and she did the colors on the originals. So they had her go through and recolor the covers on all of these. The artwork, interiors are all black and white, shot off of the originals. As Bill Gaines had a vault, his own vault of horror. He kept all the artwork from all of the EC comics, and then just one day decided it was time to clean it out. And before he cleaned it out, they went through and made great stats right off of the originals, and that's what these are printed off of. So you can't get closer to the original than that, and they're nice and big and in black and white, so you don't have that old style color in the way. Original ad that was on the inside front cover. I'm just going to carry off from there. First story is by Johnny Craig. A psychological study, The Wall.
This sounds fun.
Hole there. These were done back in the 50s, early 50s, I believe. This is 53, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see here. Maybe even earlier than that. I'm looking for a date, and I'm not seeing in the indicia here. Nope, I'm really not seeing a copyright date there. November, nope, that's not the right date. March 1879, that's the postal rate date. Still 10 cents, long before the code, so it's before, I would maybe even 49.
Well,
copyright here is 65, 83.
That's a cool cover. I like that.
Looking for other notations, especially for the early stuff, the Johnny Craig cover. This is done. Nope, I am not seeing it. I'll have to look on. There's probably another indicia as we go along that's got a date of a year on it. 1950, copyrighted 1950. Here it is by Fables Publishing Company.
well,
Which is EC. EC's got a great, phenomenal history, and it's the great Bill Gaines. One of his mutant powers, I think, was to attract the best talent on these books that he could find. I think he paid slightly better rates than most, and there's just every EC book's got a level of quality to it that's very rarely matched. Though everything's on a very standard, very rigid format. Everything was lettered, and the pages were sent to the artist already lettered, and they had to go through and fill in the panels themselves.
Wow, that's
Quite a different way of doing things,
yes.
but they got to read the whole story and know exactly where all of the panel borders were going to be, or the panel balloons. That's why you see everything very crowded to the top. You don't see a lot of stray balloons running through any of these books. So they'd send them completed pages or totally lettered pages with the panel already ruled in with a description and the script, and then they'd send back the completed artwork.
That's incredible.
But it was the best of the best, as we're going to see, even in this volume, even though it's the start of this stuff, and it gets a lot crazier as we go along. It's some beautiful, beautiful artwork. Ghastly Graham Ingels comes in here. Very early Wally Wood, almost unrecognizable. Wally Wood, he was working with somebody else. His last name was Harrison. I'm not sure if it's Saul Harrison or not. But they had a little studio kind of running, and they were doing other stories for other folks when Gaines got a hold of them. Then he convinced Wood, or Wood decided to go off on his own. We'll see that in here as well. Great Johnny Craig. You know Johnny Craig. This is Jordan Lee. No, this is Johnny Craig. I get two of them mixed up.
That's uh-huh. Yeah, you go back a page for me. Thanks. Trying to remember. It reminds me of someone.
And even here, they're breaking out of the standard rigid
Yeah.
form that they've been doing. They've been doing comics for a couple of years up till this point.
Tell you what, the line work is very Sinnott, isn't it? It's
Yeah, to an yeah, I
very
can see that.
clean.
Yeah,
Very
it is
clean.
incredibly clean. That's why I get him and Joe Orlando mixed up a lot. It's
Mm.
because Orlando's got the same type of crisp and clean look to it. We've got some Jack Kamen in here who's also nice and clean, but he's got a very distinguishable style from the other two.
What did Jack Kamen do?
Jack Kamen did. I don't know what he did outside of a lot of the EC stuff, but he was everywhere because he had such a universal, open, available style. He did all of these books. He's all through all of them, all of the different titles. And
He's
Gaines went
mostly
out.
an inker, right?
No, these guys did all of this on their own. This is pencils and inks by these folks. That's why I think the Wood Harrison stuff looks it looks very different from Wood. And then as you go in, there's more Wood that comes through, and then eventually Wood's just doing it on his own. But yeah, they'd get these pages blank with just the lettering on it ruled in. I don't know how they sent that one to him, whether they just said, here's actually 2 panels, no panel border on it. But this is pretty bold for the day. This page is. Because of its openness at top and bottom. You don't get that very often. Most of them are very, very rigidly drawn.
Well, with a little bit of imagination, you could see that he'd put in a top panel or even 2 panels at the top there. And then 3 panels in the middle and a panel at the bottom. And what he's done is he's just whited out any lines.
Well, because it's a black background, he might have just blacked it all out.
Well, exactly. Black in the top there. But if he had 3 panels in the middle that looked similar size, he could white out the bits that he didn't want.
Mm-hmm. Or in this case, blacken them in.
Yeah.
Just go over it. Yeah. Not a lot of the work gets this inventive. This is kind of interesting to see. As we'll see as we go along. Inside the panel borders, it gets crazy and inventive, but most of the time they stick to the rigid panels that they were given. There's one very famous story later on that with Kriegstein that he wrote to Gaines or called him up and said, I'm not doing this as a 6-pager. I'm going to stretch this out a little bit, which really distressed them because they didn't know everything's all in a set pattern. All the books were set in like a template formula. Every book has 4 stories. Every story is 7 or 8 pages long. 8 pages. At this point, they're 8 pages. So we finish off Johnny Craig's and move on to this guy. Mitch is in the house. Mitch, how you doing?
Morning.
Hello.
Are you there? Hello. You sound a little distant, but you're there. I like your icon. That's hot.
Can you hear
How you
me now?
doing? We can hear you fine.
Yeah.
I'm doing
now
great.
we can.
Okay.
Good. Nice to have you aboard, man. Thanks for coming on this early in the morning.
Thank you. Well, it's EC, so
There we are.
so I felt like I had to be on.
Okay. Just went through the first story, the Haunt of Fear. So this is before the hosts pop in, before they've created the old witch and the vault keeper and the crypt keeper. Never guess who this is. Look at this art style. Also nice and crisp. It's not Palmer. That's not the person's name. Look at that house, though. That's crazy.
Who's
it's all
that
line
then?
work there.
Is that also before the artist could sign the pages?
No, there's some signatures in here. There were some signatures coming and going. It's just that it's hard on the early books. Sometimes aren't signed. Like this has got Johnny Craig's signature on it. They just looked at this story. This doesn't look anything like the work he ends up doing later. This is the great Harvey Kurtzman.
That's a fence is excellent.
I'm just in awe of the haunted house there in the background. That took a
Yeah,
while.
that's gorgeous.
It's phenomenal.
The whole thing is amazing because you got the foreground and the house, the spider in the box, even the trees are.
Yep.
Just enough, not too much.
Kurtzman really wanted to impress Gaines, which is why he took his time on this story. He's just coming on to EC. So later on, once he gets more relaxed, here's a little bit of his style coming through here. He gets a lot more relaxed as he goes on. He ends up becoming a very major editor for this line, especially for, Two-Fisted Tales and Frontline Combat. He ends up doing, getting to the point where he's doing his everybody else's layouts. He's sending them roughs. If you remember, if you've ever seen his Hey Look strip, it's very rudimentary cartooning, just basic, almost basic shapes put together that he started sending. When he sent the scripts, he'd send little layouts out to everybody as to how he expected it to look. Folks went from there. Once EC went down, Kurtzman ended up moving out to the West Coast. He was helping Gaines survive with EC. He ended up doing, Mitch had to drop out and came back. I'm putting Mitch up again. Mitch, you all right? You okay, buddy? Speak to us. We're not hearing you if you are.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome back.
Hello?
Hello. Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us? Try it again, Mitch. There he went. Anyway.
Blink twice if you need us to send help.
Yeah. You see little bits of Kurtzman, but he was drawing in a lot straighter style here in order to conform to what everybody else was doing. Like I said, that's really, I see a lot of his later style in this figure right here. But a lot of this other work, this line work, is just it's not at all him, or the style that he adapts later on.
The rendering
Did a lot of work for Mad. Yeah, go ahead, Whiskey. Sorry.
I was saying the rendering on that house is quite like the fence. There is subtle and excellent, but also dense.
Yeah. Nice silhouette here, though. Really, he's there. Kurtzman's really known for his layouts. All of these guys
look at that.
just they quickly get to the top of their form, and then they stay there consistent for many, many years, which is what makes the EC so great. It's a nice panel. And again, unusual positioning here, perspective. Works, though. Looks really good. Look at that panel. That's amazing. Almost photographic. Some great work there. All lines, too. I don't think there's any gray tone to that at all. It's all line work back here.
Yep. Is that a pen or brush?
Probably a combination of the two. From his later work, it looks like he uses a much wider brush too, because he's got his later, more cartoony work has very bold lines to it. I should pull up some of that just to show it to you. It's a very different look to than what you're seeing here now. Let me pull up Bing here real fast and show you some of the stuff that oh no, wait, I've got a copy. It's going to be too hard to get a hold of. I got my box set of Two-Fisted Tales here holding up my monitor.
Of course.
Of course. Let me pull up some Kurtzman artwork here. This is the guy that the Harvey Awards are named after.
Who needs
Because he
furniture
has-
when you have boxes?
Yeah. Let's see. He goes on to make quite an impact in comics. Here's a nope, that's not going to work either. That's got a goofy logo right in the middle of it. You don't want to see that. Watermark or whatever you want to call it.
Goofy.
Goofy, yeah. Hey, Goofy. Here is a cover of Mad magazine that he did. He edits Mad for a little while. It's just trying to come back in. Let's see.
Success.
Kapla.
That one here. There's a copy of Mad.
Sorry, I'm just
that Kurtzman, a cover that Kurtzman did just a year or so later.
That's different, isn't it, compared to that other stuff?
Yeah, he's got a very different style here. Mitch, how you doing? I don't think your mic's working. Oh, there you are. You all right?
Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me now?
is it working now? Can
Yep.
you hear us?
Yeah, you're just
Yeah.
fine. Anyway, that's what Kurtzman was
Okay.
drawing just a year or so
Yeah.
later, and he was
Hopefully
laying out.
no more.
Go ahead. Yep. Can't hear you now, Mitch. Sorry. Part of the transparency, I
I
guess.
don't know if it's
Here-
boomers or gremlins.
Yeah. It's probably a little of both.
Yeah.
Mitch has been having a rough time with his equipment. So,
Yeah.
I mean, his computer equipment. That didn't sound right, did it?
It's a medical condition.
It's not a medical condition.
Family-friendly program.
Well, we try to be. Though we're 5 a.m, so
Yeah, I can
Can you
never
hear me
work
now?
out if we're late or early.
barely. How you doing? Test again. Test.
Getting angrier and angrier.
I understand.
Fuck. All right.
That's what she said.
That's what she said.
Giggity.
Giggity.
Okay. So Mad.
That was Mad.
So
We're looking at Haunt of Fear.
Yeah, Mad Magazine. I know. I was
Yep.
just joining into the conversation as best I could.
Yeah. We were looking at Harvey Kurtzman here. I'm blowing myself up again. Boom. There we are. We're looking. This is an early story by Harvey Kurtzman back before he really started doing his cartoonier work. So great stuff. Let's see who's next. A couple of prose.
Out of the
prose
grave.
feature there. Every comic back then had to have 2 pages of written prose. Work. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mitch. Are you there? Oh man,
Success.
success. Anyway, every comic back in those days had to have 2 pages of written feature in order to fit the priorities of the mail system, so that they could
Right.
ship out.
Wow.
Still don't get that.
That's the way it works. That's how Stan Lee started. He started as a little kid in the offices, and they gave him those 2-page text pieces because they didn't care what was on there as long as it was there,
I just
so that they could mail out to folks at a cheaper rate.
I just don't get that the mail system can dictate what you put in in the mail.
Well, it's what constituted the difference between a magazine and a picture book or whatever, or a regular book or periodical. You had to have a couple text pieces.
It doesn't matter how it's explained; it's still bizarre.
Oh yeah, it is.
The land of the free.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, you post a magazine, then you must pay more.
Yep. This is the early the Mad Magician here. This is an early example of Wally Wood.
Oh, really?
And
wow.
Someone whose last name is Harrison. You can see it a little bit in the inking. If you look, there's little bits and pieces of it, but a lot of it doesn't look like his stuff at all.
No, it doesn't. It just, I love seeing early versions, early work.
Yeah.
It's like you see John Buscema's early work, and it inspires you because you think it's not that great.
And you know that
he's immensely talented, and he's been drawing, like proper artistic pieces and all the rest of it, and stuff for advertising and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see some of it and you think, oh, that's a bit clunky, But in Buscema's case, he soon got into his stride and became masterful. But yeah, it's lovely seeing people that you admire so greatly and seeing that they had their own journeys. They didn't just turn up ready formed.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, they're Jack Kirby.
Well, even there's a lot of Kirby that's a little rustic. So early Kirby. He just learned quick, and he evolved his style over the years too. So, you were saying something, Whiskey?
Yeah, just saying that the middle panel there with the skeleton it's just kind of funny. It's like, how do we get a skeleton in here? We need one. He just kind of hangs it. Eye socket.
There. What a bizarre place to put the hanging implement. Yes, because it had to work. There's some really wonky perspective in there as well.
Yeah.
Script says skeleton hanging from the wall.
Yeah,
got it.
And we're going to give you this tiny box in the middle of the page for you to do it all in.
Yeah. Little buzzsaw.
He just does.
Doing the best with what you have. Again, you see little glimpses of future Wood coming through. Faces sometimes pop in, and the positioning, sometimes a little bit of the inking here and there. Mad Magician, poisoning the drink. Got to get to Jim to save him. Watch out. Nice little crash there. Again, those two panels look a little bit more like Wood. Wood's work.
The one panel on the left there, first page. On the bottom panel, left page.
Here?
Yeah, there's some weird shadowing going on there.
Yeah.
I guess it's because the lightning strike, maybe.
Almost looks like an oil spill.
This is almost unrecognizable as Wood.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah. I had a rough time figuring out who it was. Luckily, there's a narration that spread all throughout the book that described who did what.
Everybody's going to start somewhere, I guess.
Mort Meskin looks like Kirby and Ditko hybrid. Yeah, sometimes.
The Thing in the Swamp.
Thing in the Swamp by Feldstein.
Get on my swamp.
Also a major art. He's an artist writer. Feldstein went on to be like the number 2 writer there for a lot of the EC books.
Especially very big boots.
Yes. This guy.
Go to my swamp.
I guess you'd have to have big boots if you're in a swamp.
Yeah,
This is my swamp.
little skull on the pole. Thing in the swamp.
You there, kids, out of my swamp.
A lot of deceiving
Raiders.
detail here with the just black stripes almost for the moss.
Yeah.
Hanging.
Again, very tight inks.
Yeah. That's why I love these books, that you get to see the inks without having any of the color in the way, especially the old style coloring system. A lot of dots. Floating head. Anyway,
Look at that face.
which one here?
The gentleman with the beard, yeah.
See a little bit of almost Bill Elder mad coming through on me.
He definitely looks mad.
Yeah,
He's got a funny nose.
he does. Half a profile.
He's got a funny nose and a funny finger.
Mm-hmm. It's always mad scientists in the swamp, and their formula ends up getting in with the swamp water, mixing up into a monster.
Well, now we know where they got the idea from.
It's a Swamp Thing and Man Thing. Well, I'm sure there were movies before that had something like that happen to it too. The Heat, the Man Thing, Swamp Thing were all like that.
Probably stories as well back in the,
All those folk tales of the thing that crawls out of the
Yeah.
swamp. Really, they're just old hermits that never took a
Like
bath.
lizard people.
Yeah, lizard people.
well, even before then, they had, if you go back far enough, they had mythology, you had Beowulf and creatures and, whatever.
It's just more like a blob here. Just absorbs things.
Blob.
Another couple of floating heads.
Yeah. It's those
They're in-
crazy critters.
I got a question for everybody in the panels here. Are you familiar with the gelatinous cube?
I know of. I don't know it
Gelatinous
personally,
cube.
no, but
What,
go
the
ahead.
one from
Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh no, in that case I don't know what
No,
you're talking
no,
about.
no.
I was just wondering if it predated Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yeah, this did absolutely.
Probably.
Well, I meant
gelatinous
the
cube.
yeah.
This is
Until
about
you-
the time of Steve McQueen's Blob movie, I would think.
Yeah, until you mentioned the gelatinous cube, I had never heard of it.
It's actually kind of funny, but if you look it up, it's visually interesting.
I would imagine if you're walking through a dungeon and suddenly you see a large block of Jello,
Yep.
it would take you back a little bit.
It'd be like the
Yeah, then it's also. Go ahead.
be like the meat cube from the Unreal Engine demo back in 2006 when they did the first Gears. I think it was Unreal Engine 4 or something. And they were pushing around a cube of meat.
I'm not sure I know what you're talking about there.
I was there.
You were there.
I went to, is it North Carolina? Yeah.
To check out a video game thing.
Gears of
Gears?
War 1. Gears of War 1.
Oh, okay. Now I know what you're talking about.
Gears of War 1, I won a competition. I drew a new character for Gears of War. And before the launch, and they flew me, Microsoft flew me to Epic Studios
Sweet.
with 8 other people, and we played Gears of War multiplayer in their studios before anyone else did.
That's cool.
Did you win?
Yeah, it was great. was absolutely brilliant. It was really good fun. And they took us out for dinner and everything. Yeah, it was really good.
No, but did you win the game?
I won several games.
Nice.
I was quite good at Gears of War. When the third one came out, they got the online multiplayer. They got it just right. And for the first 3 months, I kicked some ass. And then they decided to get rid of the dedicated servers, and it all went to poop. So I stopped playing. It's the lag, man. Lag.
Couple things about this cover. Even though this is numbered number 16, this is really the second Haunt of Fear book. They would swap the titles out but keep the numbering for the longest time, again for distribution purposes. I'm not sure which title this came from, but with a little research, I'm sure we could find out. Suspense stories was a big thing going on. It's just your run-of-the-mill vampire. It says, "Great Scott, we're too late. The vampire has gone, left his coffin. Now we must wait till tomorrow to drive this stake through his heart.
Don't look behind you."
But by then he'll have claimed another victim, not realizing he was still in the room. And the second thing about this cover is you see the logo is covering the first third of the book, or the top third of the cover. That was done on purpose because of the spiral racks that were in use at this point in order to be seen, which is why you have this large block of yellow. Archie continued to do that for decades afterwards for that very reason. Even though this blue here kind of blends in with the black, this navy is a little hard on the back shadow here. But that's why they did that, in order to make large, stark, bright colors in order to attract people on the racks. Vampire. Johnny Craig. Full page splash.
What an unfortunate suit to wear in a swamp.
Yeah. Not good at all. So look for this seal.
You've got to feel you've got to stay stylish no matter where you are.
Yeah.
That's lovely, that artwork. Beautiful ink work.
Nice combination.
The tree took his hat.
Yeah. There's a back shadow here. Just
those damn trees.
That's mine. Just takes.
He lost his bag too, so obviously he's a doctor because it's got MD on the bag.
I was thinking it was just a handbag.
Yeah. Purse. Great.
A handbag.
You ever seen Field of Dreams, Chris?
Yeah. Build it and they will come.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole doctor thing where he, saves the kid's life. Pulls out the bag.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. I don't think I can remember the story.
Yeah. Been a long time since I've seen it.
I can remember the baseball and the fact that there were people that didn't exist, and I wasn't sure whether it was magic or whether he was imagining the whole thing. But yeah, it's a long time ago. That was like 90s, early 90s, was it?
You only saw it once?
I think so.
I only saw it once. Yes.
Late 80s. Yeah.
No, I think it was 90s because I'm pretty sure I saw it with my wife. But anyway,
my parents had a bunch of those old 90s films on VHS. So
my parents had a bunch of those old 90s movies. Just to make me feel really old.
Yeah. We don't have to go there.
Yep.
This is dated July, August 1950. They have this little seal here. Conformed to the comics code. This is an early comics code here that they stuck to for a little while. It was a little seal on the cover. Different from the CCA and a lot less restrictive.
There's always someone trying to stop you having fun and make
Well,
money out of it, isn't there?
Yeah, even at that point, they were
Yeah.
being lauded for juvenile delinquency. So they had this board of directors listed here and uh, trying to appease the parents with a little seal of a quality code. And at this point, EC is doing the Crypt of Terror, which became Tales from the Crypt, the Haunt of Fear, the Vault of Horror, Weird Science, Weird Fantasy, and Modern Love. This is before they really started branching out. They stopped Modern Love pretty quickly after this. And Two-Fisted Tales, Frontline Combat. There's all sorts of other titles that have come out.
What does it say under the seal means quality? With the
Seal
star.
means quality. The association is continually working to give you better entertainment and more information about the world we live in. It works with parent teachers association, educational groups, welfare organizations, women's clubs, religious organizations of every faith, and others interested in the American way of life.
So all the pearl clutchers of the era.
Basically, yes. Yeah. Trying to appease the audience to have them calm down. Trouble is it didn't stop them. And the uproar got even more intense. We'll see that on Sunday. Got a great book to show why that happened. But once these groups started pushing and this code tried to calm that down a little bit, that didn't quite work and led to congressional hearings. But in the meantime, a lot of these publishers basically got an FU attitude and said, okay, you want to see some great juvenile delinquent, crazy comics, we're going to give those to you. Boom. Because, of course, they figured out the more sensational you got, the higher your sales went. So the books get a lot crazier and a lot more bloodier once that happens.
Give the public what they want.
Exactly. Plus, Gaines at this point, Gaines is a second generation comic empire, pretty much. And his dad, MC, started national periodicals that ended up becoming DC Comics. And MC is responsible for basically, let's say, in my opinion, according to history, ended up screwing over a lot of creators. And when he sold his stock in national periodicals, he was incredibly rich. And that only lasted him a year or so, as he died in a boating accident. And at the same time, once he left national periodicals, he started Educational Comics, which is this EC, and that led to the big publication he did was Picture Stories from the Bible. And I think there's a story there. There's a direct connection between that and Charles Moulton, who came in and dropped Wonder Woman. Marston actually dropped Wonder Woman in his lap, and he was one of the people that approved Wonder Woman. Right. And I think he got out because he kind of realized what Wonder Woman was really all about. He decided to get out of comics in general before the heat really blew up. And like I said, he ends up dying in a boating accident as he's doing Educational Comics. His son, Bill, ends up inheriting not just his fortune, but also his comic company. Yeah. So he takes the EC up here from Educational Comics and starts doing Entertaining Comics.
Which are, as we all know, far better.
There's a classic letter that is mentioned in the comics, Les Daniels' book, where he responds to a woman who's complaining about these evil comic books. And he's like going, I don't know what you're talking about, man. We're EC. We're Educational Comics. So we do Picture Stories from the Bible. Or at the time, he was starting to kick out all of these horror lines and all sorts of crazy stuff. Vampire.
Yeah. I think the appropriate response is, if you don't like it, don't buy my books.
Yeah. Well, that works out real well for Marvel. Kelly, good old Kelly Sue. Anyway. More Johnny Craig, more floating heads.
Yay, floating heads.
Yay, floating heads.
Didn't have a single out. No.
Yeah, they were a one-hit wonder back in the late 50s,
Floating
Wow.
Heads. Taken over by Talking Heads.
pretty much. More floating heads.
Oh,
This is we're still looking at Johnny Craig talking about a vampire. Yeah,
lovely hair.
yeah.
Yep.
Now Betty Page is the absolute rage at this point.
Right.
So you get a lot of the styles of that,
So every girl looks like her.
with the bangs. Yeah, every beautiful girl looks like her.
You know, I was
There's
just thinking on the previous page there, we saw a hat, right?
A what?
We saw it was a fedora or a hat
Yeah.
from like I think like a bird's eye or like the top of the guy's head.
Yeah.
We don't see as many good drawings of hats as we used to.
No.
Hats are tricky.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, hats are tricky.
But
And
they
normally you'll
they would've
see them
been
on a flat plane like this
Mm.
here. Yeah, they're much easier to draw than perspective wise.
Oh yeah, sideways they're not as difficult, but yeah. Over the top, yeah. Because it's weird because you can go and get a photographic reference for a hat and go, oh right, yeah, I can see that, and then you draw it and it doesn't look right.
Yeah.
It's really weird. It's bizarre.
And these gentlemen would have had an advantage because everybody would be wearing fedoras.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're still the hats are the rage back
That's
then.
some impressive undershadow from her chest.
Yeah.
Just, the lighting doesn't occur anywhere else, just there.
Like it should.
All in the world is good.
Mitch, how you doing? Give us a sound check.
Well, great. Now I can't hear you. Hang on.
Sing hey la, Mitch is back.
Ayla. And again, here I believe we are looking at Wood and Harrison. To Johnny Craig. Of course, she turns out to be the vampire here at the end of this story.
That's wood on the right there. It looks more wood now.
Yep. It's a quick evolution. Here, let me blow that back up. Mitch, we still can't hear you. You're welcome.
You can't hear me?
I can now.
Oh, we can hear you now. Are you good? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I had to change computers. Unfortunately, this one doesn't work with my video camera, so
That's fine.
you still can't see me.
No. Well, we've never seen whiskey either, so it's all good.
We can hear your dulcet tones. It's all that matters.
Oh, good, awesome.
Yeah, there you are. You're good to go. Five by five, as they say. Yeah. Looking at horror ahead.
I love their punny titles.
Yeah.
Shrunken head on a stick.
Yeah, that bottom right hand panel on the left page.
There.
You can see wood starting to come through there.
Yep. Here too, in the eyes. Little spots here and there. He's starting to come through right there.
Yeah.
Also. Yep.
A lot more hats.
Sign of the times.
You can never have enough hats.
Yeah.
Well, this is a time period where when you went out, you put on a hat.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, people were smart, weren't they?
Turned up your collar. Yeah.
That's a great name for a book, actually. If you did like a film noir, detective style book, and just call it Hats.
Hats. Well,
Like suits.
all depending upon the effect that you want to get. If you want to be pulpy, it would be like Hats of Death
Hats of death.
or Murder Hats or whatever, something like that.
People
Here we
used
go
to be
again.
smart, didn't they? Everybody used to be smart. People
miss
used to go
those
whenever
days.
they went out, they'd put a hat and a jacket on and a tie.
True.
By smart, you
Exactly.
mean like,
By
Warmer.
smart, I mean smart. Yeah, like dressed well, well presented.
Materials were a little bit different back then too. They hadn't quite
Mm.
come up with the cotton poly mixture yet, so
But just
it was all wool
yeah.
or cotton at this point.
I think it makes. I've mentioned this before. I think it makes for more interesting world to illustrate as well.
Yeah. HR says great information. Yeah, that's what we're here for. HR, thanks for watching us. We love doing this. The big thing in the outside narration when they talk about this story is how clunky the composition is, and that this is not. This is really substandard for the work that Wood does later, as far as composition and page layout goes. Though that is a nice skull on a stick, skull on a pike.
Skull on a stick.
Yeah.
Get
I was
yours
thinking
now
about
from
card-
Wilco.
Sorry.
What?
Again, the split panels here are very unusual for EC, but there's such a set of dialogue there. I'm sure they split it up horizontally as opposed to vertical.
Yeah. I don't, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Go ahead.
Okay. Back then, I don't know if you've touched base on this, but yeah, back then the artist would just get a blank sheet of a blank artboard with just the dialogue written on it, and they'd have
Yeah.
you'd have to figure out and present the artwork the way that they thought was best.
Yeah, they'd get a full script with it as well. But the artwork came with that, yeah. Or the empty page. Lettered empty page came with it. It's a little bit of wood here.
Giggity.
Very odd shadowing here. And
If you want puerile adolescent humor, come to Comics by Night.
there we are. Hey, it's 5 a.m. where we are, so that's our excuse. Now, here's some great ghastly Graham Ingels.
Oh yeah,
This man could ink his way out of anything.
Oh, look at
Just
that.
phenomenal, horrific work.
yeah. He was
was a-
Bernie Wrightson's biggest inspiration.
Oh yeah, a natural fit for the horror comics.
Lovely profile down the bottom though. The geezer. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
Those candles are just very interesting.
I just love the skull is just crazy. This is why you want to see this book in black and white. Just incredible brushwork here.
Beautiful.
Beautiful control. Absolutely fun and
window.
atmospheric.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, that window there is just, it's great.
Yeah, Ingels would always put little touches like that in there.
Yeah. Just phenomenal stuff. This is the inspiration for a lot of these guys. Goes right back to him. I think Ingels had a huge impact, even though he's not. Was never happy with the work he ended up doing. He ended up going out and teaching art, I believe, in Florida, and he would never admit that he was the same Graham Ingels that did all those funny books.
Oh,
Well, yeah, because it caused a huge stir in the industry.
Yeah, well, his imagery is just crazy on this that hand. I mean, even at this point, he's incredible. It just imagine what happens 2-3 years later when they're just kicking this stuff out. Everybody gets more polished than this as they go along.
such a full page, isn't it?
Yeah, doesn't need color, that's for sure. face of horror there. Probably got such a reaction off of these stories that they just kept sending him tons of work. It's another text piece, little ad. And here's our first appearance of the old witch.
Oh,
Starting to think maybe we should do hosts.
is that Wood again?
Nope, this is the great Jack Kamen.
Oh,
To me, he's got a very recognizable style to his stuff. His positioning, his characters are all, they all look that he maintains this look all the way through his work for EC.
oh yeah, you can see it now.
He ended up doing a lot of work for shock suspense stories, the more urban material.
The more like noirish type stories.
Human interaction, detective stories, true crime stuff, that kind of work. That's really what he was made for. You don't see a whole lot of period pieces from him. Costuming and that, most everything is very modern. Again, just a great figure. Girl loves her money. Ancient pyramids.
Loves a mummy.
We're getting back up to more modern times here. Another floating head. This great feathering in the background too. It's the first time I ever noticed that was Alex Raymond's Flash Gordon. Used that a lot. Just beautiful brushwork.
Whoever wrote The Mummy, the film The Mummy in the 90s, was it the 90s?
The one with Brendan Fraser?
Yeah.
Yeah, the 90s.
Well, this is it, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Because it was about her being reincarnated.
Yeah, that's off of the classic Karloff film, though.
Yeah.
You know? And these comics lean on every device, every horror trope that you can imagine. So,
I haven't seen the Karloff film, so I don't. Not in full.
You've never seen the Karloff movie?
Oh,
no, man.
I've seen bits of it, but I haven't seen it all the way through. No.
You ever sat through the James Whale Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein?
No.
Oh, you really need to do that too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I
think I did once when I was young.
You gotta watch that stuff.
There's so many things I do need to do, but I have a bucket list.
Yeah. As a kid, I've always loved the Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I wasn't really a fan of the James Whale version until maybe high school, when I ended up watching Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein back to back, and I kind of realized they're one movie, essentially split up into two bits, because Frankenstein doesn't really end and Bride of Frankenstein really doesn't begin.
Yeah.
So it's basically like, nowadays where they'll have like one movie split into two, or one story split into two movies.
And you're saying they're which ones are they?
For what?
Those movies, they're the old black and white movies, yeah?
Oh yeah, the original Universal films.
Universal films,
Boris Karloff,
right.
yeah. Yep.
Okay. Okay. I'll have to go and find them.
The first run in the 30s and 40s, I think it was just the 30s, had like the first run of them, were just amazing. Very, very gothic, very mood driven. Then when they kind of, like 10 years later, they made sequels to all of them, and they're just essentially B movies.
Yeah, but there's
Frankenstein 1931.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's such an incredible noirish feel to them that Whale gave them in his direction. It's just phenomenal. And it really comes through the farther along in the movies you go. It just gets really just atmospheric. I don't know the exact way to describe it other than noirish. The shadows, his use of blacks and whites in it are just unbelievable.
You know, all that goes. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I would recommend Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, the first Lugosi Dracula, even the second Dracula is pretty good. The first Werewolf with Lon Chaney Jr. in it,
Oh, now
and
I've seen that. Yes, I've
and
seen that. Yeah,
the creature from the Black Lagoon
yeah,
has got a
seen
lot of
that as
quality
well.
to it.
Yeah,
And if you haven't seen the movie Freaks, which
Yeah.
is Browning, I think it is.
Yeah.
That movie is still, it was filmed back in the 30s, and I think it made one round to the theaters, but it was pulled because it was so unsettling, because it has
Yeah.
to do with a group of circus freaks, and they used actual circus freaks to film it.
Yeah.
And it's just really, it's a great film, and it's got that same type of noir feel that you have in Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein. It's just a really ooky film. It's the only way to to
Ookie.
describe it. They're all 6 of those movies are well worth your time,
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you can-
especially visually. It's just
Yeah.
amazing.
You can rent the Frankenstein one from YouTube.
Yeah, all of them are probably available. It's been
Yeah.
they've been out for so long. It wouldn't surprise me if
Yeah.
they're almost in public domain already. So
Well,
No,
well,
no,
the
you've gotta
Mummy's on
rent it.
Tubi.
the what?
The Mummy's on Tubi, I believe.
Yeah, if
Great.
you hunt around, you'll see, especially this time of year, Turner Classic Movies will run all of those old
Yeah,
classic.
I don't know. I
horror
can get that
movies.
in the UK. So.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
And you mentioned James Whale's love of like dark shadows and stuff, and
Yeah.
Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein. Well, both those movies, the visuals were heavily influenced by the German horror movie movement, like Nosferatu,
Yeah.
Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, Metropolis.
Yeah. All great stuff. Especially when you working visually like we do. That stuff's just amazing to look at. More Cayman here. Of course, the Mummy Returns.
It's a classic pose there.
You'll see a lot of that. Yeah, very much so. This is classic.
YMCA.
There's a lot of good lords in these comics. Good lord, great Scots.
Good Lord, it's the village people dressed as mummies.
Exactly.
I need a band-aid.
Yeah, pretty much.
Why are you running away? Just give me a bandage.
I was just asking for directions to the cafeteria.
Hey, don't go in that room. Stop. What are you doing?
Spider there just for a touch. It's got an open
Not
space.
hard-
Here's a spider.
Not 100% positive, but I remember reading some R.L. Stein books or something like that. And that came when I was, I think, in high school, or that just like ended in a very similar fashion, where like it'd be a zombie or something, and I was just asking for directions.
Yeah.
Classic kind of stuff.
Moving
I'm
on.
just trying to help, and it's like a graveyard full of like skeletons.
Great cover by Johnny Craig. This is the basic introduction to your horror hosts coming in: the Old Witch, the Vault Keeper, and Crypt Keeper. Here are tales that will usher you into the haunt of fear. Great cover. I had never, I don't ever remember seeing this cover before, but they, in the narration box that I was reading, they said that they had to have Johnny Craig recreate this cover because it was one of the few pieces that didn't survive.
Look at the smile on that guy on the right there.
The Crypt Keeper.
Yeah, the Crypt of Terror.
Yeah. It's what the book started out being called, is the Crypt of Terror, and it changed to Tales from the Crypt.
He changed a bit as well.
Yeah, they have all evolved quite a bit.
Yeah, the
It,
Crypt Keeper. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, you go. Go ahead.
Yeah, like as like each artist, because each book had like a headline artist. You had Jack Davis on Tales from the Crypt, Johnny Craig on Vault, and Graham Ingels was obviously the Haunt of Fear. And like as each artist kind of got free reign over each character, they kind of evolved in their own
Yeah.
own, own way because they kind of looked the same in their original appearance. Like in the first few issues of all the books, the only way that you tell the Crypt Keeper and Vault Keeper apart is the Vault Keeper had a hood.
Yep.
Right.
Well, they were all related anyway. Same family. Another seal ad. Another
He definitely
great
lost
Johnny
some
Craig.
weight.
Who, the Crypt Keeper? Yeah.
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 Yeah. He became. Perhaps he died.
Perhaps he died. Yeah.
They died in time for the, they resurrected him in time for the HBO series.
Yeah, that's how my generation was introduced to EC was
That
was Tales from
HBO
the
series.
Crypt. Yeah.
And a lot of those HBO episodes were all taken from the comics.
Almost all of them except one. I think the final episode was not based on a comic story.
Yeah, From the Grave Up. Johnny Craig. Great shot there.
Yeah. Wonderfully done. Yeah.
Obviously not a friendly guy there that died. Everybody wanted to help bury him.
Help! Let me out.
Oops.
That's pretty horrendous.
What a way to go.
Just the start of this stuff. Just the beginning. These rugged panel borders here. Giving him
Mr.
enough free reign
Severin.
to do. Yeah, Mr. Severin.
Yeah, I wonder if that's a tongue-in-cheek like reference to the Severance, maybe.
No, I know it is because Marie was the colorist on this stuff. So they were giving her some sort of tribute. I think
Yeah, she doesn't get
before
enough
John come in.
respect.
No, not at all. Especially during this era.
Yeah. Yeah, and like it kind of angers me a little bit when Russ Cochran reprinted all these. Each time he reprinted it, he had a different colorist on it. So, and Marie Severin had like her own unique coloring style that kind of helped, the artwork. I mean, the artwork obviously is good in and of itself, but there's just something about the way she colored it. Like every time there's a shock scene, there's like this fluorescent blue clashing with the fluorescent red,
Mm-hmm.
and they completely did away with all that every time they recolor it. It's just,
on the interiors, you mean? Because they made a big deal here that she had gone through and recolored all of the covers for these books.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because the interiors are always like, because I actually have a few of the first run issues, and the coloring in those are just spectacular.
You mean on the 50s originals?
Yes. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure she did the coloring for the whole company, if I'm not mistaken.
And then she moved on to Marvel, I believe.
More great Johnny Craig. Timely Atlas, yeah, turned into Marvel. She was a bullpenner by the time FF started. Stayed there for quite a few years.
Yeah, Johnny Craig also worked on Iron Man for a few issues, I believe, too.
Yeah, yep. Well, these guys freelanced, especially once the Code Authority kicked up. It was hard to find work. So, in fact, there's a famous story where Stan Lee got into trouble by his uncle Martin, who owned the company, because he was keeping these guys, the talent employed by giving them short stories to do. And Martin walks into the office and opens a closet door, and it's half filled with comic stories. And he told him not to get any new material in until all of that material was printed. So things were pretty thin there for these guys. for a couple of years. Once the code authority kicked in, a lot of these companies went out of business. Now we're getting a little bit more on this page. We're getting a little bit more into Kurtzman, a little bit more into Kurtzman's style. It's starting to relax a little bit and do more of the cartoony work that he becomes known for, or cartoonier style of work.
Television terror.
TV, brand new back in those days. Scientific invention of horror. Yeah. What it's going to do tonight. Click. So when you had to turn the set on and wait 15 minutes for it to warm up.
Look at the somewhat floating cat on the fence there.
Mm-hmm.
You could hear the tubes warming up, whistling.
Yeah. The hum. Yep.
Yeah, the big thunk.
I like vacuum tubes.
Yes, back when TVs were basically just a piece of furniture with a really tiny screen on it.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
There's something in it's just something magical about a amplifier that uses tubes. Just sounds warm.
Mm-hmm. But it is warm.
Yeah, they get hot too.
Yeah. These little curved panels to represent the TV screen. This is probably the first time that was done. Kurtzman coming in and just kicking it out. See a lot more, like I said, of his style starting to come through. It's a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more cartoony. Though still dark and moody. A lot of lines. A lot of lines on this. Very busy.
I mean, the shadows on the left-hand page.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, right. I meant right. I confused myself.
Right here. Well, even on the left, look at those. Those are crazy. Crazy good, I mean. It gets darker and darker as we go along just to fit the story. There especially. I think he's worried about that portrait. He's looking on disapproving. Everything's spooking him out.
Kind of reminds me there's this house in Niagara Falls, like haunted house, and you go in and there's supposed to be these actors and they jump out of the dark or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Except for when we went, it was like height of whatever COVID thing, so a lot of the actors and stuff were all at home, so they just kind of there was nobody there, so we just wandered, the dark house.
Yeah. That whole time was eerie. Here he loses it at the end. Hee. I know who you are. Hee. You're Mr. Creedmoor and Mrs. Creedmoor and your lover. Hee. You want me to climb up there? Sure. Hee. Oh, I don't care. Hee. Put this around my neck. Hee. Why not?
That is so much more disturbing than actually showing him hang himself.
Oh, yeah. You're at the height here of Hitchcock in the movies, too, Show, don't tell kind of thing.
Yeah.
So is it the same guy with the headphones that hangs himself?
Yeah. Yeah, he's been pulled into the closet. He just puts this around my neck. Sure. Ladies and gentlemen, due to circumstances beyond our control, something unforeseen interrupt. We now switch you to our studios for an interlude of music. Yeah.
I'll do it.
That's strange. Well, that was the program just as it was originally televised. Can you explain what happened? We can't. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I mean,
A strange story.
Go ahead.
it probably would have been creepier if everyone in the TV audience just assumed that was a special effect. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
it's so realistic on TV now. I can't believe it.
More Graham Ingels here. Scientific suspense story. Monster Maker.
Oh, that's a face. Only a mother could love.
Yeah.
Really
Some
has
more
a pointy nose.
great brushwork. Look at that shadow.
Very sorry about your eyebrows, sir.
Yeah. Get that castle, the negative space here. Just amazing. Great stuff.
A lot of these characters are very unfortunate looking. I think
Yeah.
the gentleman in the left panel there on the panel 4 on the left page.
Okay.
Yeah.
Looks a little surprised, a little worried. Some great stuff, though.
A
I
little
love that.
malnourished.
Love that shadow on this. It looks, to me, it works real well.
I don't know if he did it intentionally or if it's just the way it turned out, but every character that Graham Ingels drew just looked malformed and twisted.
Yeah. I think that was just naturally part of his style.
It's definitely the point. There's something to the shape of the face and the characters that help with the story.
Yeah. Great stuff. Mad scientist. Please, not no. Please, please. Yeah, those horror hosts come on to bring a little lighthearted, irreverence to the stories. They always kick off and end with a bad pun. Usually always. Chris in the house. Niagara Falls. Slowly I turned, inch by inch, step by step. Great face. Happy Frankie there.
Now that looks like an early Bernie Wrightson panel right there.
Yeah.
The sixth one. Yeah.
Yeah, doesn't it? Yeah.
Just beautiful.
Floppy
brushwork
eyes
there.
and everything.
Yeah. Well, Bernie would have been reading these when he was a kid. So.
Yeah. Well, Graham Ingels, he said all the time was his favorite artist, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. HR says, yeah, very Bernie. Yeah. The old witch's niche. It wasn't EC some of the early letter pages in comics. And again, they needed something to fill up those prose pages for shipping. So letters pages really come in handy. It's the first Witch's Cauldron. Horror Beneath the Streets, Feldstein.
Oh, is that one where they have Feldstein and Gaines as actual characters?
I think so, yeah, because that looks like Gaines.
Hmm.
Yeah, he says Al. Calls this guy Al, so that's Feldstein there. I'm no athlete.
Is that an alleyway? In the top?
Hallway. Hallway here.
No, second page.
out into an alley.
Second panel.
Yeah. Good Lord. Trapped. It's a dead end.
Good Lord. Great Scott.
You see the lettering being done by those old lettering guides that have almost the letters in stencil. Just go through and line it up and just ink it in. That's what this reminds me of. Very mechanical, the lettering in this. The only place we can go, the only direction we can go is down. Look, luckily there's a ladder right there next to the manhole. Going down into the manhole.
Yeah, I was just turned around and went the other way, but
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, what's the matter, Alan? Not a match, Will. I'm stepping on something. Something soft. Turns out to be a body. There, Will gets pulled through the wall. Bill, where are you? Great way to end the page.
Oops. Right through the wall.
Yep.
What a way to go. I don't like being touched at the best of times, but I couldn't imagine being like sucked into like a interdimensional, horror of hands and just no.
Yes. Here they meet the old witch. Tap on a ward on her nose. Oh, the whole group here are down here. Isn't it? No?
Yeah, Vault Keeper and
Yeah. The keeper
Look
of
at
the
those.
Vault of Horror.
Look at those shadows on the bottom left panel and the last but one panel on the right page where they bring out the brick in reverse.
Yeah.
That's great.
And that's the story, dear readers. Well, almost. Perhaps
Dear
you're
readers.
wondering. Yeah, dear readers. Perhaps you're wondering who it was that followed the two editors and forced them to enter that horrid sewer. Well, it was me, the old witch. And when I let them out again, they had to pay my fee. And that's how the Haunt of Fear was born. That's how I got my contract. And now you know the whole story behind the Vault of Terror, the Crypt, or the Vault of Horror, the Crypt of Terror, and the Haunt of Fear. I'll see you next issue. Bye now. The terrified editors of the Haunt of Fear would like to know which story in this magazine you like best. Vote for your favorite. So of course, they could cater to the reader's taste. Better sales. Only they did that today.
Yeah, that's kind of where EC at the time, other than their stories and artwork, but as a company where they really succeeded was they involved their fans in a lot of stuff.
They interacted. Yeah.
Get that Charles Burns feel working. Yeah. Yep. There's a lot of Feldstein in Charles Burns' work. Here we go again. The Haunt of Fear. And searching for his mummy. A hunchback guy looking for his mummy. With a great Feldstein cover. This time with the three hosts there on the side. And that cover layout will probably last almost the rest of the run.
And another man who ran out of toilet paper.
Yep. Looking for the stash. Witch's Cauldron. Ghastly takes the front. The Hunchback is the story. More great work. Look at that skull candle in it. Phenomenal stuff. So good. At this point, they're starting to hit their stride. Get more detail. Working with Ghastly. he actually signs it too, doesn't he? No? Nope, I don't see him doing it, but doesn't really have to sign it. This stuff's so recognizable.
Look at the lip fairy on that gentleman on the with the I think it's a derby hat on the first page, bottom right panel.
Yeah.
This is lovely.
Just some unbelievable stuff.
There's some very natural, not every panel, but a couple of
Yeah.
panels just look really natural.
You,
Yeah, that's
his faces that look almost realistic here.
yeah. I mean, that one on the left is a bit John Buscema, isn't it?
Which
You
one?
could see, you could see that. No, far left, far left. That one there. I could see that in a Conan strip.
Yeah. Easy. Yeah.
Again, excellent hats all around.
Yep. Great graveyard work in there. It's phenomenal use of blacks and shadows, silhouette. A great inking here, just on a tilt to make things exciting and to push your eye. More attention to composition here. Cigarette. Another great face. Yes, it was there. A little monster in a fit of rage had climbed a trifle higher on Peter Golgo's back and bitten him to death. Silly little ghoul. Didn't realize it would kill itself, too. It's like basket case. See, these twins had only one heart, and it was in Peter's body. Well, read on, friends. There are more chills waiting, if you can take it. Great, great pen. Bolt of Horror, The Tunnel of Terror, Jack Kamen. That worked again. Great shading here. Pointing out the obvious. This candle in between. It's melted wax. Melted off the page. Down through the gutter. Nice touch. And this is a lot more right in style with Kamen here. Just starting to hit his stride. You're seeing some unusual positions here. Some great views. Enough establishing shots to keep things static. This could have all been talking heads, but everything moves. Floating head. Now, Jeffe told only half of the story in its description of the strange nightclub. Its name, for instance, is officially the Tunnel of Terror. And terror is what Linda feels as she stands in the manager's office. Also, at this point, you have a lot of radio programs raging, so you have a vault or a crypt keeper on Inner Sanctum that's doing this kind of material too, the puns and narration. Just a great shot here, especially her face. I like that a lot. body. All you see are the legs. You don't need your imagination can fill in the rest. Sleazy, sleazy looking dude there, greased back hair.
Kind of almost like a beatnik.
Obviously the villain. Yeah,
Looks like Frank Zappa a little bit.
that does.
A ne'er-do-well. Malefactors.
Great shot here too. Mind's eye view. Tight shot. The scared expression. Another little bit of narration here. Helping to keep the story moving.
That one page on the left is great.
Some great shots there.
Just very well done.
Yeah. Another tight shot. Get the expression. Horror looking. Working. A tale of brotherly affections, wasn't it? Sort of a family plot. Just one thing to remember. To this day, no one has apprehended the monster who stalks the tunnel of terror. So if you're planning a vacation, well, I'll be seeing you in my own magazine, The Vault of Horror. The end. Great shot there, too.
Well, that'd be an unfortunate way to go, getting eaten alive in a dank cave.
Yeah. Oh. Your teeth. They cut my hand. You left a mark like a wild. No, it can't be. My own brother. You're the maniac who has murdered the others. You're the monsters. He craves human flesh.
Does he like just eats them, or does he like cook them first, put them in a stew, or
I think he just chews on them.
just chews on them?
It's a horrible nightmare, Paul.
Doesn't sound appetizing at all.
It must have been to him. Cunning. There again, an ad for picture stories from the Bible. Still in print at this point. Old Testament number 1 and 2, New Testament number 1, the early life of Jesus.
they just reach out to the guys simply because they want to save their souls. It's like, no, this is the devil's work. We need to put our Bible stories in your comic.
Well, these were done by MC, by Bill's dad, and these books stayed in print for a long, long time. In fact, they were the most reprinted comics of all time until A New Hope, Star Wars come out. They were always in print. You could never, always sold through Christian bookstores, or obviously through the mail. I don't know how many rounds they made to the newsstands, but that's usually where they sold them at.
I assumed it was had to do with the era of the pearl clutching, I guess, of the era.
Yeah, you still had the Bible Belt was rolling hard in the South and that kind of thing. Here we are, the first Jack Davis story in Haunt of Fear. The Living Mummy.
The Living Mummy. It's great.
It's a great face.
Yeah, just look at that castle.
Yeah. Jack Davis just kicking it out here. Doing some great work. Great. Is that the old witch? It's the old witch there. Davis, who could draw anything, really became known for his work on Mad and doing some of the most iconic movie posters of the 80s.
Yeah, he's probably the one artist from EC that had the most successful career after EC.
As a commercial artist, yeah. TV guide covers, movie posters.
Wonderful spot blacks.
Yeah. Again, always great stuff. Bit of action there. Swear don't kill him. Mommy, you did it. What was that? Nice panel. Good look at terror on that guy's face. Here too.
Yeah, Davis really, really went all the way with like exaggeration and body movement and expressions.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Don't touch me. Ah.
Yeah. Don't touch me. Well, that's the story, dear reader. Professor Zamron was finally convinced that Stephen's method was correct. The mummy proved it to him. What happened to the mummy? The police never found him. He's probably roaming around the countryside right now. He might even be peeking in your window, the one behind you. Don't look. You may not be able to stand it. On to the man from the grave.
Too late. She already looked.
Yeah. Too late. Don't look, Ethel.
Don't look, Ethel.
The man from the grave. Getting a little bit more obvious woodworking here. Even though I don't think he signed it. Not signing it yet. Nope. Beautiful little white screen back here. White dot screen. Dropping this back. Nice contrasting line work here. Great wood face right there. Everything on this is really nice. Crypt Keeper.
Who's the artist on this?
This is wood.
It's Wood. All right.
Yeah, can't tell.
Yeah. Well, that's why I was asking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although it's very thick lines.
Mm-hmm. Still early Wood. He hasn't signed it. There might be a little bit of that other guy in this, but Wood is really taking over as inker on this. It's really obvious. Little techniques coming through that Wood became known for later, like dropping this back with a white dot zip tone screen.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, look at that zombie face.
Again, some unusual layouts on this. This isn't your normal, rigid 3-tier structure. There's a big vertical panel here.
What's he saying?
Which one?
The zombie.
John Whalen, I see you stealing my paints and brushes. Take them if you want. But remember, I am cursing them. Use them and you will always have to use them. Never resting, always working, day and night, forever and ever.
Sounds like being a comic book artist. Then.
Sounds like a comic book editor, yeah. Being a comic artist.
That's a little on the nose.
Rich, I'll get rich with these prices. John Whalen went to work with a will. He never rested. Always, at any hour of the night, his lights were on as he painted and painted, madly, wildly. I had to rest, but I don't want to rest. I'm in the mood to paint, and I will. When the story ends, John Whalen was in the mood to paint, wasn't he? All in good for a little time. Read on, my friends, read on. Remember the dying man's curse? Of course you do. And so will John Whalen after a while. Paints himself into zombieism.
Like you do.
Just can't stop.
Yeah, just can't stop.
Merciful heavens, no. Look at that. That's almost Gene Colan working right there.
Yeah.
Very much so. Look at that. That's crazy. Again, that's duo shade boards, what that looks like. They're incredibly well done. It's so easy to overdo when you're doing duo shade like that and just turn it into a gray mess. This is just wonderfully done. Here again, you can tell it's duo shade board from the wash. Look here on the side of the stairs. Difference in tones. Yeah. Just enough to make it to break it up, gray it up just a little. Then here it's a little bit more heavier. It's mostly line work here. Same here, up the nose shot. Just great. It's
Up
really
the
cutting
nose.
this. Up the nose. Pure wood there. The panel. Yeah, this whole page really screams it. Little cat. Well, that's my story, dear friends. I'll bet that if I took a canvas of you readers right now, and some of you screaming too, I'd find some of you screaming too. Just like that poor old landlady did. You notice how pale and pallid she looked? Oh, by the way, she's recovered now, doing nicely too. But she's still not out of the insane asylum. Seems that every time she sees a painting, she goes mad over it. Worked himself into pure zombieism. Yeah. That's how that issue ends.
Do you ever draw on yourself as a zombie?
No.
Don't tempt fate.
Don't tempt fate.
We have
I did.
about 15 minutes left. Shall we do one more issue, or shall we just end it here
If you
and pick
want.
up next week?
How much more of the book is left?
There's 2 issues left, I believe.
All right, that's quite a bit.
There's 6 in each one.
Yeah, I think we should probably finish there then, because it's 10-2 now.
Yeah.
We can always
Another
fill
great
in
Johnny
with some
Craig
more
cover.
nut stuff next week.
Well, there's like 4 more volumes of this
Yeah.
in Haunt of Fear, so we can keep going on Haunt of Fear at least for another week. If that works for you, it works for me.
Yeah. Good start. I think
Yeah,
Glenn
it's
can
great.
enjoy it as well.
Oh yeah. And it's just as everybody's hitting their stride. Look at that.
Wow.
Look at that. It's the old witch is getting
Yeah.
witchier, and it only gets crazier from this point. Mitchell attests to that. Some of the stuff is just incredibly classic, and
Oh yeah.
that's some of the best horror comics ever made.
Some would argue the best.
Most would say the best. Yeah. Anyway, folks, we'll pick up more next week at the Haunt of Fear. You've been looking at the Russ Cockrum collection of the EC volumes. Comes in a beautiful boxed set of 4 or 5 volumes, if you can find them. When you can find them, good luck.
Yeah,
Especially
Dark
first
Horse
printing.
is reprinting a lot of them because they got the contract after the company that was reprinting them in hardcover went out of business.
Yeah. Great stuff, folks. And this kind of material, this is so classic, so great. It always needs to be in print. I think the same thing with the Crime Does Not Pay material. All of that needs to stay in print too. And I know Dark Horse has done a couple collections of that. I've got one of them. We'll definitely look at that in the future. But more Haunt of Fear next week, folks. More Haunt of Fear next week. We're really glad that you stuck with us today. Very happy to have you here. Thanks everybody in the chat. HR, Chris, in there. HR says, yeah, it was great stuff. Okay, great to know. There we are, folks. We deeply appreciate you stopping by. And Mitch, why don't you tell folks how they can find you?
Well, you can find me at Linktree/Celtic Cross Studios, where you can find my online comics, my online store, website, socials, and everything else.
Do we have another campaign for the Bogeyman coming out soon?
Not soon. I do have a few stories I'm releasing, so those are coming. I got a con at the end of the month, so I'm getting books ready to be printed and stuff for that.
Yeah.
SC Comic Con Junior here in Greenville, South Carolina. Just in time for Halloween.
Yeah. Whiskey, tell folks how they can find you.
You can find me over on the old X there at Bandit Ricochet. Just Google that. And yeah, I do 3D models and working on a comic called Driftwood, story about necromancers. So if you need a 3D model made, you can hit me up there. Here's some of the artwork going on for the stuff. We got Renzo Rodriguez on pencils and inks.
There you go.
And I've been working on reference, images for the characters and the stuff in 3D for the last, couple months, I guess. And yeah, just going through making the comic now. It should be out next year, October.
Hope so. It'll be great to see. Russ, tell folks how they can find you.
You can find me at russleach.com. Social media connections there. Mostly go to see me on Instagram. I'm also on all the other usual places, but all the links are there at russleach.com. Also to my email list, which is probably the most important thing to sign up to, so that I can give you information about what's currently on the screen. We've got Robert E. Howard's The Shadow Kingdom coming up. And I'm going to be YouTubing a lot of the inking on this. So at the moment, I've just been showing a lot of pencils, but I'll actually be doing some live inking on that. Also, so you can find out about Only Death Can Save Us and all the other stuff that I'm doing. There's other projects that I'm involved in. So that's all at russleach.com. So there you go. There's some pages here. Where we go? That one sort of showed that one yesterday as well.
Yeah.
This is a panel of what I'm working on today. There you go. So.
Yeah,
it's quite pleased with the work and the way it's going. So I believe you're into lettering the first chapter. Is that right, Randy?
Started next week. Yeah, early next week.
Yeah, so it's rolling on. I reckon we'll be going to crowdfunding in the new year. So basically, while I'm back onto Only Death Can Save Us, book 3, this will be out for crowdfunding.
Yeah. Jump in there probably the first quarter. I would live stream me lettering the work, but nobody wants to hear me cursing that much. So trying to avoid all of this great artwork out there and fit this narration in. We're doing a faithful adaptation of The Shadow Kingdom, folks, by Robert E. Howard. And it's a beautifully written story. And I've had the privilege to adapt, and it's got some great verbiage in it that it's just amazing. He's painting, Howard's painting a wonderful picture, great story. Maybe not quite comic book pacing, but it's phenomenal stuff. So, I mean,
the first half is slow, but
it's a great build.
It's a great build up. Absolutely wonderful build. There's real tension in the book. It's in the story. Sorry, it's lovely, and then it just goes bonkers in the second half, really.
It does.
So, yeah.
Breaks out with a lot of lizard people. So it's all good.
Lizard people.
A lot of stuff in that, a lot of real classic Howard material. It's a fantastic story, and I can't wait for folks to read it. I hope they enjoy it as much as we're having a ball adapting it. So, folks, you can. I've been your host, Randy Zimmerman. You can find me over at aerocomics.store if you want to take a look at some of the work I've done. We've got an anthology book over there called Revolt. There's The Fool is also available there and at fundmycomic.com for a little while longer as we fulfill that campaign. Hero Bot Zero, which is the adventures of a little cartoon 3-foot tall robot. Here, I should probably blow myself up so we can
do it.
This. Boom. There we are. Hero Bot Zero is a little 3-foot tall giant robot with a bad attitude. He won't fight giant monsters to save his city unless he can do it on the clock and get time and a half for overtime. There's 2 issues of Hero Bot Zero currently done. Third one is I'd like to say it's underway, but I've got a couple other things to do first, like Calico Shard, which is a great fantasy book that with artwork by C. Michael Lanning that I can't wait for folks to read, as well as Paragon with artwork by H.R. Harris, which is kind of superhero, a Superman style hero suddenly pops up in a city and folks don't know what to do with it. So it's a lot of fun. It's got a great twist ending to it. And again, I can't wait for you to read it. And there's more coming. If you look at Aero Comics, aerocomics.store, look for our campaigns on fundmycomic.com. Currently, right now, we're running Soul Tac 4 by Craig White, which is a phenomenal space opera story that you'll really enjoy reading. And AR-13L, The Little Mermaid by Piper and Pixel Trader, and with great artwork by Eric Hodson. Can't recommend that enough. Every time I look at the artwork for that, it just amazes the heck out of me. So swing back by next Friday morning, 5 a.m. Eastern. We'll be back looking at more Haunt of Fear because this is October. This is our horror month. On Sunday, though, we also do another show called Sunday Funnies over at the Indie Comics Network, the Randy Zim YouTube channel, Comic Book Black Belt channel. This Sunday, we're going to look through, or at least start looking through, a book entitled The Horror. Comic books the government didn't want you to read, which is about the same time period as what we're looking at now, and some of the great horrific comics. A lot of phenomenal covers in this, a lot of descriptions of the craziness that happened before the Comic Code Authority got kicked into place. And that's on the Sunday Funnies at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, Indie Comics Network, Randy Zim channel, and the Comic Book Black Belt channel on YouTube. So on comicbookblackbelt.com, I think, has a link to it as well. So anyway, folks, we do this because we love it. We show this stuff off. We're not monetized. We're not asking you for super chats or any of that. We do it because we love this material and we love showing it off. We love talking about it. Comics are our passion, and that's what we love to do. And if comics are your passion too, go out and tell folks. And try to use more positivity than you do negativity. The X and these social platforms can be so filled with hate and negativity. And this is a great art form. This is a phenomenal art form. And yeah, of course, the corporations now might be abusing it, but there's so much great material out there. So much phenomenal stuff. You know, we feel for the retailers who have to try to sell these modern corporate comics. We really do. And we urge everyone out there to go out and visit your local retailer when you get a chance. Take a look through their back issue boxes. You don't have to buy the new stuff. You tell your retailer you're not interested in the new stuff if you don't like it. If you don't like it, tell them you're not interested and look at those back issues. Go in and look at those old magazines. The old Warren and Creepies are phenomenal material. There's all sorts of great old Marvel black and white magazines and great comics from the 60s through the aughts that are incredibly well done sequential art for you to enjoy. Visit your local Barnes and Noble and take a look through that indie section where you find books like this and purchase those. Comics are a phenomenal art form, the most unique anymore the most personal form of communication and art form that you can get possible, other than maybe painting. So you get some songs that are personal every once in a while, but nothing beats an alternative or independent comic done by one or two creators who are having their say and saying stuff that they want to say and not stuff that's corporate owned or trying to sell some icon or some silly a set of underoos or spaghettios or whatever. So there's some great comics. There's some great comics at fundmycomic.com. I can't recommend that site enough. Every time I go over there, I get pissed that I don't have enough money to buy a lot of this stuff. So it's getting more and more frustrating as we go along, but only in a good way. You see stuff like Bronze Star and AR13L.
There's some great books available over there.
Kelsey's book, Gary Martin's got some phenomenal stuff over there. A book of illustrations as well that just blows my mind. And you can get The Fool that Whiskey's showing off right now over there. That's the Rodeo Clown of Justice. It's a story that I would love to have everybody read, just to hopefully enjoy it as much as I did doing it. So, folks, we'll see you next week or on Sunday. We wish you the best. Have a great weekend. Everybody, any last words? Anything that we've forgotten? Buy alternative and independent comics, especially ours.
Especially ours.
As Luke Stone likes to say, please leave this woodpile higher than what you found it. And
the only time you should look down on the brother is when you're trying to lift him up.
Yep.
That's the one.
This art form is supported by people like us who have the passion to go out there and enjoy it and love it and read more comics. That's what you need to do. Read more comics.
Yeah. Buy more comics.
Man, buy more comics. Exactly. We'll see you soon, folks. Sunday, hopefully at 9 a.m. for the horror. This is October, so we're going to be showing great horror comics all through the week or all through the month. So make sure you stay tuned for that. We're not sure how far into November that'll go either, since there's so much great stuff to see. Last Sunday or last week, right, we talked about The Mutants by Bernie Wrightson. Wasn't that Sunday? I think that was Sunday that we went through that. That was a great collection of early Bernie Wrightson work. So go over there and enjoy us. We're always archived at our channels. Indie Comics Network, if you haven't subscribed, definitely do that. Hit that bell for notification. We're only 2 shows on that network of a wide variety of different programming. And some of it's a lot different from ours, but everybody has different tastes, and we encourage everybody to taste everything. So you don't know what you're going to like until you've taken a bite of it. So.
You don't know what you like till you've stuck it in your mouth at least once.
That didn't come out right at all.
I came out fine.
Came out as intended.
Oh, you silly, simple bastard.
We'll see everybody next time. Take care. And again, have a great day.
Look, everybody's entitled to be an idiot.
That's for Danya.
That's for Danya. See you as soon as we
See you,
get
folks.
there. Yeah, here we go. See ya.
What was that? This is not a charade. We need total concentration. Now, once again, this time, with theory.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Can't nobody tell me nothing.
How dare you?
Get off my lawn.
The views and opinions expressed within the video content found on the Indie Comics Network are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Indie Comics Network or its sponsors.
And I just want to say, when my time comes, I want to be buried face down so that anyone who doesn't like me can kiss my ass.
Let's talk about buttered sausage. Talk about buttered sausage, where it comes from, what it does. Why is it doing what it's doing? Get it out of my face. Buttered sausage. It's not my jam. I don't buy jam. I buy honey, and I kiss